Did you know that some of the most controversial Catholics today are not just ordinary members of the Church, but powerful figures who often spark heated debates? From cardinals to theologians, let's dig deep into the lives of 9 of these figures, their controversies, and why they stir up so much attention. Get ready for some shocking insights. Cardinal Robert Sarah is one of the most prominent voices in the Catholic Church when it comes to traditionalism. Known for his conservative beliefs, he has often challenged the more progressive path taken by Pope Francis. Sarah's most significant controversy revolves around his views on the liturgy and the use of the Latin Mass. He has been a fierce advocate for the preservation of traditional liturgical practices, which he believes hold a deep spiritual value. Sarah has argued that the reforms of Vatican II, particularly those that shifted the liturgy from Latin to vernacular languages, have weakened the Church's spiritual integrity. This stance has put him at odds with many church leaders, especially those who see these reforms as vital for adapting to modern times. His vocal opposition to the Pope's stance on women's roles in the Church, as well as his critiques of the acceptance of divorced and remarried Catholics, have made him a polarizing figure. Some see him as a defender of Catholic orthodoxy, while others view him as resistant to necessary change. Pope Francis has been a game-changer for the Catholic Church, and not everyone is happy about it. He is often described as the radical pope, mainly because of his willingness to challenge centuries-old traditions. His position on climate change, immigration and social justice issues has earned him praise from many progressive groups. For instance, his encyclical Laudato Si urges the global community to take action against environmental degradation, while his open stance on welcoming refugees into Europe has caused political controversy. But Pope Francis's progressive views have not been welcomed by everyone within the Church. His openness towards the LGBTQ+ community, and his willingness to entertain ideas that challenge Church doctrine, like communion for divorced and remarried Catholics, have sparked major backlash. Conservative cardinals and bishops argue that his approach is too lenient and could lead to moral decay within the Church. However, Pope Francis has remained steadfast in his belief that the Church must evolve to meet the needs of the modern world, even if that means alienating more traditional factions. Father James Martin's work within the Catholic Church has made him both a celebrated figure and a controversial one. As a Jesuit priest and author of the book Building a Bridge, Martin has been at the forefront of efforts to make the Church more accepting of the LGBTQ+ community. He advocates for a more compassionate and understanding approach to LGBTQ+ Catholics, believing that they should be welcomed and not condemned. This stance has caused significant friction with many conservative elements of the Church, who argue that his views undermine the Church's teachings on marriage and sexuality. Some even accuse him of promoting a softened version of Catholic doctrine that ignores the Church's traditional stance on these issues. Martin has faced criticism for what some see as his refusal to clearly oppose same-sex marriage, though he insists he is only calling for greater inclusivity and love. Despite the backlash, Father Martin continues to speak out, urging the Church to embrace LGBTQ+ individuals with dignity and respect, even if his views remain contentious among Church leaders. Bishop Richard Williamson is perhaps one of the most infamous and controversial figures in the Catholic world. Known for his extreme views, Williamson was a prominent member of the Society of St. Pius XI, a group that adheres to traditionalist Catholicism. What makes Williamson so controversial, however, is his denial of the Holocaust. In a 2008 interview, he claimed that there were no gas chambers in Nazi concentration camps, and that the number of Jews killed during the Holocaust was exaggerated. His comments caused an uproar, leading to his excommunication from the Catholic Church, though he has never publicly recanted his views. His stance on Jewish-Catholic relations in particular has caused significant division within the Church, with many condemning his remarks as hateful and anti-Semitic. Despite his excommunication, Williamson has maintained a following among certain traditionalist groups, making his continued influence a point of serious concern for many. His views are widely considered dangerous, as they challenge historical facts and promote division, rather than unity within the Catholic community. Sister Simone Campbell is far from your typical nun. As the head of Network, a Catholic social justice lobby, she's become a highly influential and controversial figure. Network advocates for progressive causes like affordable healthcare, immigration reform, and workers' rights, which has made Sister Simone a leading voice in the fight for a more inclusive Catholic Church. Her advocacy doesn't stop at social justice, because it's her stance on abortion that truly sparked major debate. While the Church traditionally opposes abortion, Sister Simone has publicly criticized its strict teachings, calling for a more compassionate approach. This criticism has led to strong reactions from both sides. Some Catholics hail her as a champion for the marginalized, while others believe she's challenging the very heart of Catholic doctrine. Her efforts to integrate social justice into church teachings have made her a trailblazer for progressive Catholics, but her views are still heavily debated within the Church's traditional framework. Father Thomas Reese is a Jesuit priest whose outspoken views have stirred the pot in the Catholic community. Known for his critical stance on the political involvement of American bishops, Reese has openly called out the Church for its involvement in issues like same-sex marriage and abortion, claiming it's too focused on politics instead of spiritual matters. He's also been an outspoken critic of how the Church has handled sexual abuse scandals, pushing for more transparency and accountability. These views have made him a divisive figure. On one hand, many Catholics support his push for reform, believing the Church needs to modernize and address the concerns of the faithful. On the other hand, there are those who see his critiques as undermining the authority of the Church and its teachings. His ability to influence both church politics and national political conversations has cemented him as one of the more controversial figures in modern Catholicism. Cardinal Blase Cupich, the liberal archdiocese leader. Cardinal Blase Cupich is one of the leading voices in the Catholic Church's more progressive faction. As the Archbishop of Chicago, Cupich has been a vocal supporter of Pope Francis's vision for a more inclusive and compassionate church. He has backed the Pope's teachings on issues like social justice, immigration, and climate change, positioning himself as an advocate for the marginalized. However, his support for Pope Francis's more lenient approach to divorced and remarried Catholics has caused significant friction within the Church. Many conservative Catholics view Cupich's progressive views as a dangerous departure from traditional Catholic teachings, particularly when it comes to family issues. Despite the criticism, Cupich has remained committed to the Pope's vision, which has helped increase his influence within the Church. He is a polarizing figure whose leadership continues to shape the future direction of Catholicism in the United States, but his views often put him at odds with more traditionalists. Monsignor Charles Pope, the conservative critic. Monsignor Charles Pope is a staunch critic of what he perceives as the liberalization of the Catholic Church under Pope Francis. His criticism of the Pope's approach to issues like divorce and communion has earned him a reputation as one of the Church's more conservative figures. Monsignor Pope is a vocal advocate for traditional Catholic teachings on marriage, abortion, and gender roles. He's not shy about challenging what he sees as the Church's drift toward a more progressive stance, especially on controversial topics like same-sex marriage. His unwavering stance on these issues has made him a lightning rod for both praise and criticism. Some Catholics see him as a defender of true Catholic doctrine, while others feel that his rigid views are out of touch with the changing world. His influence remains significant in conservative circles, where he continues to advocate for a return to traditional Catholic values. Cardinal Walter Kasper, the controversial theologian. Cardinal Walter Kasper, a German theologian, is one of the most influential but controversial figures in the Catholic Church today. Known for his progressive views on marriage, divorce, and the family, Kasper has sparked heated debates with his calls for reform. Perhaps the most controversial of his positions is his advocacy for allowing divorced and remarried Catholics to receive communion, a stance that contradicts long-standing Church teachings. His views have divided the Church, with many conservative cardinals strongly opposing his position, believing it undermines the sanctity of marriage. Despite the backlash, Cardinal Kasper remains a respected figure in theological circles, and his ideas continue to shape ongoing discussions about how the Church should address modern issues while staying true to its core beliefs. Now tell us in the comments who you think is the most controversial Catholic in history, and for more in-depth content on the Catholic Church, subscribe to my channel right away.